Question 11. The solution to the given system of equations is AB. What is the value of 3a plus 3b? This question is like question number 2 where they're asking you for a specific equation. And if you see problems like this early on, they're not really testing you on how to solve for a variable and plug it in. Remember, with the SAT, you're trying to find the fastest way to the answer, and oftentimes this involves manipulating the equations. So let's see what happens if you add the equations together. For example, 2a plus a is equal to 3a, and b plus 2b is equal to 3b, and 17 plus 19 is equal to 36. If you notice, 3a plus 3b is exactly what they're looking for, and you also know that 3a plus 3b is equal to 36, so your answer is just D. Question 12. In triangle ABC, the measure of angle C is 90 degrees. If sine A is equal to 3 over 5, what is cosine B? So this is an SAT favorite, and I'm just going to tell you right away that the answer is A. It's the same number, 3 over 5. Let's go ahead and draw the triangle. So they told you that angle C is 90 degrees, meaning you have a right angle. So this is angle C, and then you also have angles A and B. If you add up angles A and B, you get 90 degrees. So these angles are complementary. There's something called cofunction identities, and I can make a video on that later, but all you really need to know for the SAT is that sine A is equal to cosine B. So that's why when they said sine A is equal to 3 over 5 and then asked for cosine B, I knew right away that it was just going to be 3 over 5. So what you really need to know for the SAT is that if you know that two angles like A and B equal 90 degrees, then sine A is equal to cosine B. And the opposite is also true. So sine B is equal to cosine A. Question 13. For the linear function f, the graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane passes through the points 0, 2, and 2, 6. Which equation defines f? If you notice, all the answer choices are in the slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. On a side note, often when they give you coordinates, most likely you'll use them. And this point right here is special because it's your y-intercept. For example, if you graph it, you would go to x equals 0, then up to y equals 2. And 2 is your y-intercept. So now your equation is just y is equal to mx plus 2. And you could try to eliminate the answer choice based off of that, but if you notice, all the answer choices actually have a y-intercept of 2. The only thing that's different are the slopes, which is your m value. And because you have two coordinates, you can actually calculate the slope. So the first thing I would do is just rewrite the coordinates. So we have 2, 6 and 0, 2. I would also label them. Recall that your slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's start with the y values. So we have 6 minus 2 over, and then the x values are going to be 2 and 0, so you have 2 minus 0. So then we end up with 4 over 2, which is just equal to 2, and your answer is just y equals 2x plus 2, which is answer C. Question 14. The 2017 Wyoming State Senate had 30 elected members consisting of Democrats and Republicans. Let D represent the number of Democrats who vote yes for a bill, and let R represent the number of Republicans who vote yes for a bill. For a bill to pass, more than half of the 30 senators must vote yes. Which of the following inequalities represents all possible values of D and R for a bill to pass? So this problem is an inequality problem, and you don't have to worry too much because the equations are all the same for the answer choices, and the same number 15 keeps coming up. The only thing you really need to decide on is the inequality. So let's go through the problem step by step. First, it says the 2017 Wyoming State Senate had 30 elected members consisting of Democrats and Republicans. So we have a total of 30 people. Then it says let D represent the number of Democrats who vote yes for a bill, and let R represent the number of Republicans who vote yes for a bill. So basically you have D and R, which are variables that represent the people who voted yes. So D is for the Democrats, and R is for the Republicans. These are the people who voted yes, which means this is D plus R. Then it says, for a bill to pass, more than half of the 30 senators must vote yes. This is where the 15 comes from, because 30 divided by 2 is equal to 15. But you remember you want it to be greater than. So it says here, which of the following inequalities represents all possible values of D and R for a bill to pass? So basically you would have D plus R, and you know the number has to be greater than 15, so then this here would be your answer choice. Even if you didn't know the exact answer, you could still do a little bit of process of elimination. So for example, let's say that you knew that it has to be greater than 15. Then at least you could get rid of answers B and D. And then the only difference between C and A is that C has an equal sign, which means you would include 15. And that's definitely not true. So let's get rid of that. And then the answer is just A. Just be careful because I can see people circling C by accident. Question 15. Question 15 has a quadratic equation, so this is definitely a quadratic equation problem. It says, in the given equation, C is a constant. If the equation has exactly one solution, what is the value of C? Remember that the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a and b are your coefficients or numbers in front of the variables and c is a constant. Their equation is x squared minus 2x plus c is equal to 0. So a is equal to 1. Pretend that there's a 1 right here, and then b is equal to -2 and c is just equal to c. The next equation you should remember is a quadratic formula, which is x is equal to -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The most important part is this part right here, which is called the discriminant. So when the discriminant is equal to 0, you have one solution. And that's because if this part equals 0, then you end up with -b plus or minus 0, but this is just equal to -b regardless of adding or subtracting 0. So the next part is just to plug in these values into this equation. So we have -2 squared minus 4 times 1 times c is equal to 0. 4 minus 4c is equal to 0. Let's add 4c to each side. So we have 4 is equal to 4c. And then you end up getting 1 is equal to c. So we can replace this as 1, and the answer is just c. You can also double check your work by plugging in the answers back into the equation. So then we have -2 squared minus 4 times 1, and now we know that c is equal to 1. And then we have 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, and 0 is definitely equal to 0. Question 16. There's a table and the table has length in miles and cost in millions of dollars. If you notice, the length is increasing every 5 units and the cost is increasing about every 400 units. So the question says, the table gives some values of possible lengths x in miles of a monorail system and the corresponding cost to build f of x in millions of dollars. Which of the following equations models this relationship? So basically they're testing you on whether or not you can take all this data and translate it into an equation. So first of all, they said that x is in miles, so this is x right here. And then they said f of x is your cost. So this right here is f of x, or it's basically your y value. And if you notice, all your answer choices are lines and they all take the form of y equals mx plus b. Let's think about the data. So they're saying that if you're building something, like if you're building 5 miles, it's going to cost you $405. So technically that means that when you have x equals 0, meaning you have 0 miles, it's going to cost you $0, which means that f of x is going to equal 0. So technically this data point is 0, 0. And if you drew this on a graph, which means if you plot your data point, it should go through the origin. And that means that your y-intercept is 0, which means your equation should just be y is equal to mx. That means that answers C and D don't make any sense because they have a y-intercept. So let's get rid of those answer choices. Now you just have to decide if the slope is 81 or 405, and there's a couple ways to do this. The easiest way would be to just plug in a data set. So like for example, when x is equal to 5, f of x is equal to 405. So if we took answer A, which says that f of x is equal to 81 times x. So the first data set says that f of x is equal to 405. So we say 405 is equal to 81 times x is equal to 5, and 405 is equal to 405. So the answer is just A. Another method is to estimate the slope. So when the values are so far apart, you can basically round. So remember that the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if we were to take the difference between 800 and 400, it would be roughly around 400. And the difference between 10 and 5 is just 5. So 400 divided by 5 is 80. and 80 is closer to 81 compared to 405. Question 17. A set of data is represented by the scatter plot in the portion of the xy plane shown. Which of the following linear equations best models the data? So they're asking for answer choices in the slope-intercept form of y is equal to mx plus b. One thing to notice is that all the slopes are actually on the right side, so they wrote it as y is equal to b plus mx, maybe to mess with you. One thing to notice is that we don't start at 0, 0. We actually start at 10 and 6. But let's go ahead and draw a best fit line. The line has a negative slope, so let's get rid of any answer choice that has a positive slope. So answer B is the only one with a positive slope. The next thing you can do is either look at the y-intercepts or look at the slopes. I'm going to look at the y-intercepts. So answers A and C have very similar y-intercepts, but answer D has a y-intercept of 18. If you look at your graph, your y-intercept is like right around here, and there's no way that it can be 18, so let's go ahead and eliminate D. There are a couple ways to figure out the slope, but I'm just going to use this data point and plug it in to see which equation works. So we have this xy coordinate of 10, 20. And then I'm going to write equation A and equation C side by side. So equation A says y is equal to 26.2 minus 0.32x. One thing to note is that when the numbers are so far apart, you can start to round. So when I plug in y equals 20, I'm going to actually write 20 is equal to 26 minus 0.3 times, and then x is equal to 10. So we have 10 right here. So then we have 20 is equal to 26 minus 3. And then we have 20 is equal to 23, which might be close enough, but let's check with equation C. So equation C says y is equal to 25.4 minus 6 times x. Again, y is equal to 20. So we have 20 is equal to 25 because I'm rounding, minus 6 times 10. So we have 10 right here, and then we have 20 is equal to 25 minus 60, and then we have 20 is equal to negative 35, which is definitely not true. So then answer A is correct. A more conceptual way is to analyze the slopes. So for example, in answer A, your slope is so small that you're not subtracting a lot. But if you look at answer C, your slope is negative 6. So basically you're dropping by 6 units down every single time you move to the right by 1 unit. But the problem is if you look at your data set, your y values are not changing that much. So that's how you know that your answer is actually A. Questions 18 and 19 use this table right here. The table has hardcover and paperback and revenue and cost. And it says, a certain book is available from a publishing company in both hardcover and paperback. The table shows the revenue and cost in 2016 for each of the hardcover and paperback books produced by the company. Then question 18 says, in 2016, the total cost for 200 of the books that were sold was between $2,200 and $2,400. Which of the following could be the number of hardcover books that were sold? So first of all these answer choices represent hardcover books, which I'm just going to call as H. This problem is actually testing you on systems of equations, and there's usually 2 types of equations. The first one is number of items. For example, let's say that H represents the number of hardcover books and P represents the number of paperback books. Then they told you that you have 200 total books, which means that you can write down the equation H plus P is equal to 200. The second equation is usually total cost, which is equal to number of items per each type multiplied by the price. In this case, they're asking for cost, so I'm just going to put a $sign. So for example, we know that we have H number of hardcover books, and then the cost is $14 per book. And we also have P paperback books, and they cost $10 each. The total cost is between $2,200 and $2,400. This is actually an inequality. So you have $2,400 on the right, and then you have $2,200 on the left. I wouldn't actually worry about these 2 numbers for right now. There's a couple ways to solve this, but the easiest way would probably be to use their answer choices. So for example, let's pretend that we think that the number of hardcover books is actually 80. So then we can say H is equal to 80. And then use this number and plug it into this equation. So then we have 80 plus P is equal to 200. Solve for P, and then you get P is equal to 120. Now we have 2 values that we can plug into this equation. So then we have 14 times 80 plus 10 times 120. I'm going to ignore the inequalities for right now. So then we have 1120 plus 1200 which is equal to 2320. And then I'm going to bring the inequality down. So then we have less than 2400 on the right side, and then we have 2200 on the right side. So the test is to see if this inequality actually holds true. And if you notice, 2300 is actually between 2400 and 2200. So using h equals 80 actually worked, and A is the answer. The more mathematical way would be to literally solve the equation. So the easiest way to do that would be to use substitution. Since they're asking for the number of hardcover books, I don't really care about the paperback books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for P in the first equation by subtracting H. And so I have P is equal to 200 minus H. And now I'm going to use this equation and substitute it into this variable right here. So then I have 14H plus 10 times 200 minus h, and this simplifies to 14h plus 2000 minus 10h. And then I'm going to combine the h's together. Then I have 4h plus 2000, and then I'll bring these inequalities down. So this is less than 2400, and then greater than 2200. If you're not familiar with the double inequalities, basically if you operate on one side, for example, if we're subtracting 2000 on the right side, you just do the same operation on the other side. So you subtract 2000 on the left side as well. And so then we end up with 200 is less than 4h, which is less than 400. Divide each side by 4. So then we get 50 is less than h, which is less than 100. So basically, h needs to be between 50 and 100. And again, the only answer choice that actually works is answer A, which is 80. Question 19 says, an analyst estimates that the cost of each of the paperback books will increase 50 cents each year after 2016. Which of the following models the cost C in dollars of each of the paperback books T years after 2016? So this problem is testing you on whether or not you can take all this information and translate it into an equation, specifically for paperback books, which means any information needed will be in this column right here. Let's go ahead and figure out what the variables stand for. So C is equal to cost in dollars, and then T is equal to years after 2016. They also told you that it increases 50 cents after 2016. The easiest way to solve these problems is to always figure out what happens at time 0. So when T equals 0, the cost was originally at $10, so we know that C is equal to 10. The next step would be to plug in T equals 0 into all the answer choices and see which answer gives you C equals 10. The reason why this is helpful is because anything multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. So for example, in answer A, 10 times 0, which is equal 0, so we can just get rid of that, and then do the same for all the other answers. If you notice, answers A and B both have C equals 10, which is wrong. And then C says that C equals 10, so this is correct. And D doesn't work out, so you're stuck with C. Question 20. Line M is defined by this equation. Line P is parallel to line M in the xy plane and passes through the point 4, -3. Which line defines line P? So this problem is testing you on parallel lines, specifically the fact that parallel lines have the same slope. So line P also has a slope of -3/4. So I'm just going to say MP is equal to -3/4. You can go to the answer choices and see if you can cancel anything out, but they all literally have the same slope, so that doesn't help. And then as mentioned in question 13, when they give you a point, most likely you're going to use it. So this point right here, 4, -3, represent X and Y. And you can plug it into the answer choices and see which works. The easiest one to start off with would be answer B. So we have Y is equal to -3/4 times X. And then Y would be equal to this coordinate right here. So we have -3 is equal to -3/4 times X, which is 4. And then the 4's cancel out, and then you get -3 is equal to -3, which holds true, so answer B works.